Hey guys, Shuki here. Today we are looking at both the Nacon Revolution Pro 2 controller and the Razer Raiju Pro controller for the PlayStation 4, and I thought we'd do a little comparison between the two physically and just kind of see the differences between the two of them. So on the right here we have the Nacon Revolution 2 controller. On the left we have Razer's Raiju controller. So let's take a look at them. The first thing you'll notice on the Nacon Revolution controller is the joysticks are kind of not at the same level, kind of like an Xbox controller. So if you're kind of used to that controller, this one's going to be a little better for you maybe. Whereas the Razer, it's going to be more like a DualShock, so both of the sticks are going to be on the same level, which I know a lot of people prefer. Another thing you'll notice physically is on the Razer Raiju controller we have just a 4-way direction pad. Up, down, left, right, whereas on the Nacon we do have a 4-way, but it can be changed to an 8-way through the software, which is a bonus for the Nacon. It does have a software with more customization options. There's also a big difference in the button size. The Nacon has really large face buttons, which I like. They feel great. They're not too hard to press or anything like that. Whereas the Razer has smaller buttons, but they do have a click to them, and I'm going to let you hear it now. So it's kind of hard to explain without seeing it and feeling it yourself, but it makes it feel like you're clicking a mouse, which is kind of cool. I like the click on the buttons. I just wish they were a little bit bigger, kind of like the Nacon buttons over here. Going back to the Razer, one thing I did notice is the D-pad buttons are a little harder to press than I'd like, but the regular buttons are really easy to press, almost too easy. They almost feel like I accidentally press them sometimes, and I kind of don't like that as much. The Nacon one, there's a little more pressure required to press the buttons, but not too much. Whereas the Razer, I'm always accidentally hitting buttons, and that's not only the front buttons, but the back ones as well. The Razer Raiju has 2 buttons on the back, 2 triggers, which are nice. And then on the top, it actually has 2 other extra buttons you can program. And I'm not gonna lie, these ones on the top are a little strange to get to. It's nice having the extra buttons that you can program, but it's weird because you gotta go past the triggers to get to them. So that's one thing I don't like as much. The Nacon, you can see on the back, it has 4 buttons on the back that you can program with the software. These 2 buttons on the back of the Raiju are removable though, so the top ones aren't, but these 2 on the back can be removed because I find myself hitting them a lot accidentally. They are just as sensitive as the face buttons. Now, one nice thing about the Razer controller is at the bottom we do have headset controls, so we do have a mute button and a volume button. I haven't had a chance to test them yet because for whatever reason my headset port isn't working on this controller. I don't know what it is. I've tried 4 headsets in it and 2 PlayStations and nothing. Cannot get them to work, but it is a nice feature. I'm sure it works on other controllers. The Razer controller has 2 profiles you can program, so you can set 2 different profiles with the button layout the way you like, whereas the Nacon controller actually has 4 profiles, 4 PC and 4 profiles for PS4, which is pretty nice. Now on the Nacon, you program them physically with the buttons, so you're going to hold this button down here, hold whichever button you want to change, and then press the button that you want to change it to, and it'll give you a little vibrate when it's set. Nacon, you just plug it in the computer and change the settings there. So both have their benefits. Looking at the triggers, I do feel the triggers might be a little better on the Razer. They feel a little more accessible. On the Nacon, they are a little weird to get to, especially R1 and R2, but they're a little raised on the Razer, so it does make them a little easier to get to. The Razer, you can set hair triggers both manually and software, which is kind of cool. Whereas the Razer, you can set hair triggers, you plug it in the computer, and you can actually set a percentage. But I do like the physical stops that you have on the Razer controller. I do like the way the sticks feel on the Razer Raiju. They're a little bit shorter, which I prefer they be a little taller, but I like the concave sticks, whereas on the Nacon it's convex on the right stick, which is kind of weird. I also like the pads that come with the Razer. The Nacon sticks can be programmed on a computer to be more sensitive, have different dead zones and things, which is really nice. So they both have their pluses and minuses with the joysticks. Finally, I wanted to talk a bit about the buttons, like the back buttons, which is one of the reasons you're getting the Pro controllers. On the Razer Raiju, the back buttons are a little sensitive for me. I like them. They're placed nicely and they can be removed, but they're a little sensitive compared to the Nacon, which they take a little more pressure to press down on the Nacon, so I find myself accidentally pressing them a lot on the Razer Raiju. The other thing, as we talked about before, is where the placement of the buttons are. So I like the way they sit on the Nacon. My fingers sit right on them. They kind of sit right on them on the Razer. It's a little different from hand placement, but they're comfortable. The top buttons though are just still a little weird to get to. But otherwise, that's going to be it, kind of comparing the two controllers. Razer is great. So far, I'm just still testing it out. Not as used to it as the Nacon, so I do want to give it a good try before I do like any kind of review or anything. I just wanted to compare them today. But honestly, so far, I think they're both awesome controllers. They're both Pro controllers. They feel like it. They're officially licensed, and I think you'd like either one of them. So check them out. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go Shuki out.